the most recent. And we will,
Laat het Tzetzaveh bnei Yisrael, v'yichol Hashem azay zol chachas lamor lahalos ner tom. You do it. There's four questions here. Call it so when it should be turned. Never Tzetzaveh bnei Yisrael. Okay, it's because I'm a kind about Tzetzaveh bnei Yisrael. Look, every time when the Torah says Tzetzaveh bnei Yisrael, what does it mean? Ata Tzetzaveh. It's not just the words. It's the idea. What do you mean Ata Tzetzaveh? Moshe's Metzaveh. Moshe doesn't do anything. The Eibishter does. That's what you should say. Tzetzaveh bnei Yisrael. What does it mean? The Ata Tzetzaveh. It's a very unusual language. The it's question number one. Question number two. They are in Lamut. Why did they have to bring the oil to Moshe? Aaron needs the oil, not Moshe. The say Shem Lahoyer, what's in the Moher? These are the four questions. Let me open a few.
And this one of three questions. What was
Ata Tzetzaveh.
Bye-bye. Wait, Kedushas Moyer, Nechami, Admoyer. Amor, you do the Master of Kibbutz Yehudim, Shenema, Kurim Kuf, Tafresh Pei Zayin. Mentioned Shabbos. This was extraordinary Maamaar. It was said in 1927. KGB was closing in on the Frierdiker Rebbe. Frierdiker was warned not to be very, very careful. Just to travel to Petersburg back then to Moscow. He got a telegram that my great grandfather, who was a secretary, was arrested. He knew that they're closing in on him. And the closest to them advised him to lay low. But instead, he came to the Lubavitch Beis Medrash and put in front of the hundreds of people there. And he said, a Maamaar Eden should have Mesidas Nefesh, that they should die al Kiddush Hashem. Afterwards, the indicator called up a chos, and he says, I know the KGB agents are here. And I'm asking you a question. They'll tell you that you should send your kids to the public school, to the Russian public school, to the communist school. Shkola. Oh. And if you have the option to do that or to jump into a fire pit, I say to you, you should jump into the fire pit. And then he turned to the crowd. I see all the agents here from the KGB. I'm not scared of you. So you can imagine that they didn't enjoy that much. They arrested him a short time afterwards. But this Maamaar said, with that fire, with that bren, with that fire, my grandfather was passed away. He was really an old man. So he was 103. So he used to complain. I used to go visit him. So I used to tell him, Zaidi, yell at Chorutz. Used to always laugh. Was there what happened? Yell at Chorutz. Yell at Charutz.
Who used to say?
I said to my Zaidi, because when they came to arrest my great grandfather, he was playing outside with a friend, and he stayed. The KGB, they were just dressed with regular clothing, and they asked him, "Where's the house of Konya Marozov?" So over there.
Yeah, the school, the kid.
Yeah. So by the time they found the right address, he had already taken from his father an attaché case with all the documents. They were all shredded, all the sensitive documents.
Right.
And the Frierdiker Rebbe got word of it. He said, I was saved by a Yelet Chorutz.
Oh, but this is unique. You used to tell him.
I used to tell him, Zaidi, Yelet Chorutz. He always used to laugh. Yelet Chorutz.
To remind them the good days.
Yeah. So that was 1927. He was a kid. He was young. So the Frierdiker Rebbe, the whole Maamaar is about Mesidas Nefesh. And the Rebbe talks about why does it mean Mesidas Nefesh for us today? Okay. Let's go back. Ois beis. Novak, Tzetzaveh. Herschel, you understood the story? Novak, Amore, der Masel Kibala Yehudim, Shema, Purim Kon Tafresh Bezain, Tziva Tzetzaveh, Hum, Tzavtzah Chibra, Zevat Tzetzaveh Bnei Yisrael. Shemosh Mekasher Machavez Bnei Yisrael L'Moyen Sof, Adei Shemosh Mashpil Yisrael, Shemekasher Yisrael L'Moyen Sof, Al Yedei Zen Nasser Yisrael V'Sof V'Mosh, Mosh Yisrael L'Dugmas Reish V'Lek Meshkos, Here Sheish Malas Elef Araglim Mashpil Mikir, Kol Yisrael L'Maraglim V'Moshe Moshe Ra'Roshalam, Moshe بعد برگان ملیخ مسرش ما کشر برایش مثلا می آخر لگی لشم کمک کنم ماش بیسرال شلش ایسرال رگان ماش میتیفس میتویس فیلو بماش زر ماش قصه شویش میس على فرقلا مثلا نشون دکیر بده رگلیام نمیشه گیل ده نویخ بکی میشه ماش ده رگلیام ماشر نویخی بکیر بود that through Moshe Rabbeinu is saying that through the I'm the head and they are the legs. Just like the head can't go from here to there without the legs, so through the Jewish people, Moshe Rabbeinu moves from here to there. So that's the pshat. Zov ata Tzetzaveh bnei Yisrael v'yichol Hashem. V'yidei Moshe Tzetzaveh v'yikasher bnei Yisrael l'moyin tov. Al yedei ze yaviu bnei Yisrael Shem hazayis l'Moshe v'yikvei lechem she'yisifu tefefes oir b'Moshe. So that's the pshat. V'ata Tzetzaveh bnei Yisrael. You should connect. That's the answer to the question. You're giving commands. Tzetzaveh means to connect. Tzavtzah. You should connect the Jews with the Eibishter. Through that, they will pick you up. You pick them up, they pick you up. One pshat is we find the whole Zohar. It's a big pieces of Zohar. It's called Raya Mehemna. Raya Mehemna. What does Raya Mehemna mean? One pshat is it means he's a faithful shepherd. You could trust him. Just like there's a shepherd that is not faithful, you can't trust him. And there's a faithful shepherd. You could trust him. You give him the sheep. He cares for the sheep a lot. So the leaders of the Jewish people are called the faithful shepherds because you could trust them. The other pshat is Raya Mehemna, that he feeds the Jews Amunah. The truth is the Jews have Amunah. But the problem is that it would surround them and it wouldn't go into a Pnimius. That the Amunah should touch a person in a Pnimius. This is the big thing that Alter Rebbe says that the person has Amunah. Every Jew has Amunah. The problem is that it surrounds the person. It doesn't go into Pnimius. Therefore, it doesn't behoove his actions. He knows he should. He should. We spoke about this, the Shabbos of the Fabrengen. The Rebbe told the story. It was the Poritz. And he told the Moshke, he said, if you don't convert, I take your 2 children away. I don't know what to do. To lose his 2 children. Never, he converted. After he came home, after the Rahman al converted, his wife told him, Yankel, now we don't have to eat kosher anymore. He converted. It's a very simple person. You heard? You hear what his wife is saying? Now he converted. So he doesn't have to eat kosher, doesn't keep Shabbos. A Maggid Meshorim came by the little town. He sees a Yid, he's not keeping Shabbos, it's keep kosher. Mishigi? He said, Nebuch, the Poritz came, he's going to take away my kids, I had no choice. I should jump in the fire. And now you did a mistake. Does it mean that you don't keep Shabbos, you don't keep kosher? You have to be a Jew, you have to do tshuva. Do tshuva. That's it. Comes home, he says, Yenti, we're doing tshuva. We're going to be Jewish again. We're eating kosher, we're keeping Shabbos and putting on film. 5 years, he says, Yaakov, listen to me. Look at the calendar. It's 2 weeks before Pesach. Now we're going to become religious? Let's wait till after Pesach. They still didn't become religious. So it's a makiv. He knows he should do it. He'll do it tomorrow. He'll do it. Moshe Rabbeinu helps that the Amunah should come into Pnimi. זה שמוישה זונו מפרנס סמונו שמש חייס בפנימיס ובבא ממשיך ממם זה שמוישה ראה מהם נקמונו בזה גם לספשטוס על מוישה שבכל דרך דרו שאלף ישראל שבכל דרך מחצקים סמונו בישראל שבדוירה שמונו שבהם תהיה בפנימיס. That every generation the Jewish leaders are their job is to help the Jews take the Amunah and bring it into Pnimis. Like the Chazal say, Mordechai sheispashtus the Moshe B'derek Maamaar Razal. Like I say, just tell us in the Medrash, Abba, Shemortcha B'derek Moshe B'derek. Shagam B'zman Zeres Haman Shemor Aterek Yemitzit Soyos Kosher in Mesidis Nefesh Hikol Kilos B'Rabem L'Chazak Samanoshim Sheisrol V'Hashem Alamat Chazak B'Lum L'Aterek V'Kiva Mitzvahs. So every generation that tzaddikim, their job is to help the Yidden and in the Sidis Nefesh. Why does the pasuk say kosas lamoer? Should l'choyde say kosas lahoy? Shemzman agol shkol achavechad nishbar menitke kosis. Ideis magin lamoer etzim shemen nimtzoy. Tzarech lahav, we must understand. Shaykh is da pirish because Lamar no word by Maamaar lifnez shmoish bispashtus dilesh b'choldora zon mafarnes Amunah shtib b'pnimis. What's the connection in the Maamaar? He says Kosas Lamar, when the Jews in Golos have a broken heart, when a person is riding high, haughty, he can never get to his etzem and neshama. When a person is kosas, he's a broken heart, he gets to the more, to the source of his neshama. Well, what's the connection of that, a concept, to the concept that we were saying earlier in the Maamaar about the Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation? What was the connection? The B'matan Torah, Rahoya Schola, Echelu Las, Mech Hashveidosh, B'zman Gzeres Haman has a Kabbalah v'Kibbutz Yehud. Al derech Maamaar Azal v'Posa Kim v'Kibbutz Yehud Kim v'Masha Kibbutz Kvar Zesh Kim Migdim Monas v'Nishma B'matan Torah v'Rak Kabbalah v'Mech Hashveidosh Kim v'Masha Kibbutz. Similar to what the Gemara says, Kim v'Kibbutz HaYehudim, Kim v'Masha Kibbutz Kvar. And also there's a whole Maamaar in the Alter Rebbe, and there's a biur nifla, unbelievable biur. We'll put that aside. Here there's another pasuk which has a similar thing. It says, Kibbulas Yehudim Chelu Las. So pshat is that one year they celebrated Purim with Shalach Mones, Matanas Lav Yonim, so that's Purim. They had a good time. And they said, "Yo, this was so much fun. Let's do next year another Purim party. The Purim party this year was so good. Let's do it once again." So that's a pshat. Could you give Mr. Lieberman one of these? Yeah, it's page Reish. But the pshat is means that the B'shas Matan Torah they got the 10 Commandments, they got the mitzvahs, and now the Kibbutz Yehudim is that that now there was the finally the Gemara Kabbalah from Matan Torah. We're on page Reish Aleph, 2 lines from the top. The Matan Torah Yisrael B'tachlis Ilah was that from Gila Lakuz B'dag Echinailis. The news was that she come Koyd Matan Torah Gila Nal Yisrael Gila Shebema Betzis Mitzrayim Efrat B'Kriyas Yam Sofina Gila Shebeshas Matan Torah Gila Nal Yisrael B'Mechak Tvei Yisrael B'tachlis HaYerida the news of Lahelam B'Hes Shebechol Golos of Budmas Golos Mitzrayim Kumush Golos Mitzrayim Ksiva L'Shomal Moshe Mekoytz Roch V'Avayda Kosher Alderos of B'Chol Golos. Shiur Nakawan the Sionis became a Torah mitzvahs. He knows Bezman Gezer Somnai Ba'Helam B'Hester Yosef Afal Tifer. Zman I Matan Torah Sheisol B'Tachlis Ilu Yehoiz Rakas Chavechelu Lases. Which is a pella. What is the answer? What's the question? Question is, how could it be Bashav Matan Torah when the Jews were on the highest level? Seeing Hashem, and that was only the beginning. And now that we're in Golus, now that in Golus, Tzetzaveh, nehmt zwei Benkel von Tzetzaveh. Page Reish Aleph. Can someone be chazich? Yeah. So how could we say that was only the warm up, Shas Matan Torah, and now that this should be the what was the mile of his man Agzeda? The Eden were Golus is a terrible thing, and this Golus was a terrible Shabbat terrible. Now we should say that it was the unbelievable Kabbalah. What's the answer? The answer is that they had a Mila now. That now they had Mesidus Nefesh. Now was the real deal. It was the real deal. They came, they were tested. And so because of Mesidus Nefesh, they were elevated. They were double Mesidus Nefesh. They could have converted away from Judaism and then no one killed them. And number two, that they had Mesidus Nefesh, that their children should learn Torah. Like Mordechai, who gathered 22,000 Jewish children along with them Torah. So it is Mesidus Nefesh. Mordechai Yehudi. Moshe Shebedoir, Zavi Kiblo, the Messiah Shechel Asel, Bisman, the Bimatan Torah, said Rakas Kola, Bisman Zedis Homan, Hois Hakabolo, Kedush, Alamas Mesidus Nefesh, Bekoyel, all terms in this Alu. So that's the answer. But Matan Torah, they were great, but there was no Mesidus Nefesh. But now, even the Jews were not such on a high level and great, but there was Mesidus Nefesh and a double Mesidus Nefesh. Now they deserve the Kibbutz Yehudim to receive the Torah. They own the Torah belongs to them.
Mesidus Nefesh is Yihareg V'lo Ya'avo.
Yeah, the real stuff, the real deal. Koiri Shloima Shapirish because it's Lama Sharei Kos is Nishbar Venit Kamagim Lamar Vir Al Zeh Shubisman Agizayde Dafka Bolam Mesidus Nefesh away from Nailo Yosef. Mesidus Nefesh Mitzad Etzem and Hashem Hashem Malam Agilim Moed Men Nimtza Oed. Yidei Shoyos and Matzav the Kosis Nishbar Venit Kenes Gala Etzem Neshom and more and they had Mesidus Nefesh. But the pshat is that it says the Rebbe that how do they get to have Mesidus Nefesh? Mesidus Nefesh comes from the Etzem and Neshama. How do they get to the Etzem and Neshama? If you're riding high in your horse, it's very hard to get in contact with your Etzem and Neshama. When a Yid breaks his heart, Kosis, Nishbar V'nitka, the Etzem and Neshama comes out. So once the Etzem and Neshama comes out, the Yid could have Mesidus Nefesh. So that's the connection of the two things in the Maamaar, the theme of Mesidus Nefesh and the Kosis Lamoed. Avol mehemshich v'seder in Yonam Maamaar. Shapirish b'Kosis Lamoed balachrin yilderayim mehem namash madini Kosis Lamoed rashaya gam lazeh shemoishe zonim afarnas amuna shetiv b'fnimis. So therefore, this biur is not good enough because it's mashma. The Kosis Lamoed is a shaykh is also to Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's really mashma in the pasuk. Pasuk says, "V'atat Tzetzaveh b'nei Yisrael v'yikol lach Hashem azayisah." What's this Kosis Lamoed lahalos neir talmid? Kosis Lamoed is going back to the beginning of the pasuk. So what's the connection of Kosis Lamoed, Leiv Nishbar V'nitke, to the idea of V'atat Tzetzaveh Moshe Rabbeinu connects the Yid? In general, this Maamaar V'atat Tzetzaveh is built this way that there's a kasha and there's three biyurim. It's Elamai, it's Chassidus, it's not Nigla, it's not like you slug up the first pshat. You build the second pshat to the first, third on the second. But it's Divir L'Kim Chai. You're not slugging up the first pshat. But still, Each pshat is right, but that's the build of the Maamaar of Tzetzaveh. There's one mahalach, there's a second mahalach, and then there's the third mahalach. Your head is spinning. The Rebbe Mon Zachen, first of all, Bachal to understand the third mahalach. To have a full bottle of everything sitting here. And then to implement it, it's Bachal. But look, this is our job to learn the Maamaar.
The voice much better.
So this is the first biur in the Maamaar. So again, the first thing is that Kosas Lamar and is connected to the rest of the Maamaar. Kosas Lamar means when a Jew has a broken heart, there's nothing more precious than a Jewish broken heart. Then that he gets in contact with his etzem and neshama, and through that he could have Mesiras Nefesh. Otherwise, what Mesiras Nefesh? Nothing. He's busy. He's busy eating potato chips. Mesiras Nefesh, not shaykh to Mesiras Nefesh. But when a Yid is Kosas Lamar, now that he's Kosas Lamar, he gets in contact with his etzem and neshama, shaykh to Mesiras Nefesh. That's the first mahalach. Now let's go to the second mahalach in the Maamaar. Page Reish Beis. Yesh levar zeh. Yesh levar zeh. Connie, who's your outside tonight? What's your mother's outside? What's your mother's name? Etet Voida. Very well. Etet Voida. Bas? Mordechai. Saim L'chaim. Lisa Neshama. Yesh levar zeh. Mother made the best sponge cake in the world.
Yeah.
Yesh levar zeh. Api yedua. Zeh sheYisrael maminim. Velakuz b'emuna pshuta. Einzich emuna yisal zeh. Umitzad shnei time. There's two reasons why you don't have to give a proof to a Jew that there's Eibishter. Yid has Amunah. There's two reasons for it. Number one, l'fisha mazlayich chozik. Neshama shalamayla roya lakus. L'hish shalamayla masech l'vzet poel b'neshama shabaguf amunah b'lakus. Hoyd beer the sherish amunah me'etzem neshama shalamayla me'maz mechozik. Zeh she'etzem neshama k'sheris b'lakus. His kashrus atzem she'ena klui b'siba v'gam l'binyan l'hish shalamayla masech. There's two reasons. There's 2 points why a Jew has Amunah. Number one, he saw the light. He saw. You don't have to explain to him logic and this, that world, complex and beautiful. He saw the Eibishter. He saw it. He saw it. He sees the Eibishter.
Klal sees that the Eibishter through what? If what you're what
Not through. He sees the Eibishter. Not through. Get rid of
what
the
does that
through.
mean?
What did you learn? What does that mean to you? How old do you know? What did it mean till now? He sees the Eibishter.
Well, they say when you see the trees, the mountains,
He sees the Eibishter. He sees the Eibishter. And that's what the Gemara says, Mazlayu Chozi, that the Nevi'im were trembling because Afagav the Iulei Chozi, Mazlayu Chozi. So this says, the Pshat is, it's a Gemara in the beginning of Megillah. The Pshat is that the Neshama sees the Eibishter. Neshama sees the Eibishter. Neshama sees the Eibishter. A lot of times it's
Not the person.
Huh?
I'm saying not the.
Who's the person?
Asking. When you say the person sees the Eibishter, the Neshama sees the Eibishter. Neshama always sees the Eibishter.
Neshama sees the Eibishter, yeah. Not through. Neshama sees the Eibishter. And the second thing is, which you usually say, this ain't a Daimari Lishmi, there's nothing higher. Neshama sees the Eibishter here. But there is something really deeper. When you're saying I see something, there's me and there's something else. But then there is that the neshama is not seeing the Eibishter. The neshama knows the Eibishter. Knows the Eibishter. It's iskasher, it's atzmis. It's not that it's something from the outside. It's me. I know the Eibishter. Yesh loymar achilukim sheben shnei abiyurim. העניונים הוא, תאמונה בנשמה לבא שזה בגוף, ובומר יש הנשמה של המעלה, היא בבחינס מעקיף. וכיוון שהנשמה של המעלה למעלה, מסלבשס לכם פעולה בנשמה, פעולוסו בנשמה, מלה של גוסו, בבחינס מעקיף. לפי שמונה, תהיה בפנימיוס הידי גילה, הסקשרס, עצמס, זה עצם הנשמה. כי עצם הנשמה הוא עצם של הנשמה מלובש בגוף, ולכן אמונה הנשמה מלובשת בגוף, משעת עצם הנשמה היא בפנימיוסה. So I say there's like two nafkaminas between why a Yid has Amunah. If you say a Yid has Amunah because he sees Hashem, okay, he sees Hashem. It doesn't mean that necessarily it's going to come into a pneumius. Sometimes people see things, they know it's true and it's real, and it doesn't change them. They're not changed people. They see kedusha, they see emes, they see, but it doesn't change them. But something which is my etzem, this touches me, touches the deepest chord in me. What do you mean it's not going to touch me? Sure, it's going to touch me. Sure, it's going to touch me. If I see someone else's, if I see a psagoyish, a kid running in the street and he's hit by a car, almost hit by a car. Guy was coming the other day, he came here, he was like shaking. He said he was driving by there's a kid's park. And he said, I was just lucky, I was not in a rush. I was driving like a Sunday driver. I was maybe driving 15 miles per hour. And there's a little Yiddish kid, tiny kid, ran into the streets. I was able to hit the brakes, and I was like an inch away from the kid. The kid wasn't scratched. And his father sees the whole thing. It's like, and his father's running after him, he said, I was thinking if I was just driving the speed limit, 25, I couldn't have stopped in time. He was partially shaking. So, why we say Yiddish kin? So it touches his etzem. If you're watching something from the outside, you're watching a motion picture. What's that happened? Something that's negaya to your etzem. What do you mean? It's for sure it touches you in a pneumius. So that's one difference. The other difference is if a person is going to have Mesidas Nefesh or not. If I see something and it's true, okay, it doesn't mean I'm gonna jump into the fire for that. But if this is me, this is my etzem aneshama, I'm gonna jump into the fire for that. These are the two nafkaminas why Yid has Amunah. Let's skip this piece. The Amunah do Yisrael, the Shemais and Nafshal Zeh, who Bikir Bamuna Shematzah Etzem Aneshama. Amunah Mitzad Shuroya, Agam Shabatoik of Godel, Gidu is Samsa Shematzadaria, his Samsa Gadol be Yoitzer, come of Gimish Amunah Shalom Mitzad Siba, Mitzad Zeshuroya, Venik Shulam Etzem Mitzusa, Ain the Mukhashim Senafshal Zeh. Why should I jump into the fire? Okay. I see, it's true, it's good. But why should I jump into the fire? זה שמונה דישראל לבית משמעי נפשי ומפני שמונה בלכוס העצם שלו ולכן אי אפשר כלל שיכפר חס ושלום. When it touches my etzem and neshama, it's not the shilas, why should I have Mesidas Nefesh? The Yid doesn't have any shilas. How can he not have Mesidas Nefesh? So these are the two differences between the Amunah. Again, we said Amunah could come mitzad the Iya, and Amunah could come mitzad the etzem. If a person has a pain somewhere in the body, a person has a pain in the kidney, he has to see it to know he has a pain in the kidney. He doesn't have to see it. He feels it. He knows it. You saw the kidney stone. I didn't see it. I feel it. So the Lakus, there's two ways. There's Yid sees Hashem, and the other one he's connected to. He knows it. He doesn't have to see it. It's him. There's a big nafkamina if the Amunah comes from here. There's two nafkaminas. Number one, is it going to touch him in a pneumius? Something I see, well, it's nice, but it might not touch me in a pneumius. Something that's me is going to touch me in a pneumius. The other difference is it going to bring me to Mesidas Nefesh or not? If I see it, okay, it's very nice. It's true, but why should I jump into the fire? But if it's me, it's the other way around. How can I not jump into the fire? Simple pshat of Moshe Rabbeinu is that he teaches you. He gives them Sikhs, Maimorim, Ikris Kodesh, Sikhs Kodesh, And from that, the Yidden understand the Eibishter, and the Muna comes with the Pnimius. But the truth is, the Zesher Oy Yisrael, Shbachol Doir, Machaskem Amuna, Kmavur, B'mayim Azeh, Hu Shamuna Yisrael, Hu Tibay from the Mesiris Nefesh. V'api Anal Yeshlem, Sheikir Inyan Derai Mehemne, Hu Zeshu Zon Mafaran Samuna Atz, Shamuna Tia Loi Ra Kamosh Metzad Agiluim, Metzad Zesher Neshama Lamayla Roya Lakus, Ela Metzad Etzam HaNeshama. The main job of Moshe Rabbeinu is not just to explain Elokus; it's to reveal the Etzam HaNeshama.
They call all the tzaddikim Roy Yisrael like Moshe Rabbeinu.
You're right, because every Jew has a Roy Yisrael, and every generation there's those that feed the Yidden Emunah. V'zesh is Moshe Mamshech Samunah V'pnimis B'das Vasoga. B'tetzoah. It's a side thing. It's a tetzoah. Izeh Shuzanu Faras Samunah Atzma. Shachos V'gil Amunah K'Moshe Metzanetzim Anasham. וכנ"ל, דמשך צמונה בפנימיס בדעת, וגילו איסקשרס עצמה is the עצם הנשם. פיזי יש למה, בזה שהדויר, שהוא צריך למסרס נפש ופועל חיץ קוראי ישראל, הסמונה דישראל שתהיה במסרס נפש, נסגל עניין דרעי מהם נבידין סעוד יוסף, ומוישה עצמה. כמשוכס וגיל אמונה, כמוישה מצד עצם הנשם, הידי, מוישה וספשטו סדילי, שבכל דורה, איקר איסקלוסה, הוא מסרס נפש בפועל. That even though every generation, the tzaddikim, they're like Moshe Rabbeinu, but Moshe Rabbeinu, we saw Bepoil, most of his function was to teach Yid. He was teaching Yid. But the other tzaddikim, like Mordechai Tzaddik, their main job, their main function was to awaken the Mesiris Nefesh. He was screaming in the streets of Shushan Abira, Yidden, don't go, come. Send your children to learn Mesiris Nefesh, Tzumolai. He was Mesiris Nefesh.
He couldn't stop all the Jewish people to go to the...
He tried. He got the end, he got them all to have Mesiris Nefesh. הנה ידוע שמסירת נפש ופועל יותר מצווה של כל ישראל, עושה בפורים, בזמן גזירת המה שמסירת נפש, תבחר בזמן גזירת יובן הוי בעיקר במעט ישראל בונו. מסירת נפש בזמן גזירת המה הוי בכלל ישראל, בכל ישראל. There's something remarkable about Purim, which Hanukkah was a small group of Jews. Among the Jews, there was a tiny group. But unfortunately, most of the Jews were not with Matas Yolbonah. Purim, where every single Jew, without one exception, were caught in the fever of Mesiris Nefesh from Mordechai Yehudi. Apizi yesh levaer, ma shavuva b'maimer shumi ve'endaf reish gimel. Oy zayin. Shumi, you hear me? Apizi yesh levaer, ma shavuva b'maimer, mamed shmordechai shakol bedoire, Moshe bedoire, tagam shmashur shel Moshe. ובכל דבר, מקום הכניס במדע שמרדכי דווקא, ושוקל בדרך כמו שבדרך. ויש להם את המיילה, למרדכי שהוא היה ראי מהם בגיל של כל ישראל, שבדרך בדוגמס מוישה, ראי מהם שמשך דס לכל ישראל שבדרך, כמובן גם מזה שמוישה, דרך של מוישה, נקרא דרך די, של מוישה, היה גילו עניין זה, שראי מהם של כל ישראל, הידי שמשך דס לכל אנשי דרך. ומרדכי, היה גילו עניין זה, הידי שגילו ככה מסרס נפש לכל אנשי דרך. So in a way, Mordechai is brings out more than Moshe itself. That's why we bring the example of Mordechai Bedoire, Shakol Moshe Bedoire, because there was something unique about Mordechai Tzaddik. Ishlema the Deshme Maamaar Mashkos Lamedesh Mordechai Bedoire Shakol Moshe Bedoire. There's a pasuk Malamaymer Adin Alatz Moshe Oray Mehem the Begol Shakol Anshe Adoir. It's like just understanding himself. I think saying it really good. So, bottom line.
Mordechai Yehudi, 120 Medinot of Hashverosh, had much more people than Moshe Rabbeinu. 600 Ribot. So Mordechai is
More people.
than Moshe.
Yeah.
He has more people
people.
to get together.
Okay. But here he's saying something else. The Moshe Rabbeinu, his main function was to teach Das. And Mordechai Tzaddik, his was the etzem. By him was revealed the etzem inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu. He wasn't only teaching das; he was revealing the etzem and hasham. Apizi yishlavai keshe v'seid inyan b'mayim avbir pasuk hat Tzetzaveh shebtchila mabayres apirish vat Tzetzaveh b'nei Yisrael shamosh makashem machavas b'nei Yisrael merin tzav aydei shomach chazar maparan samunen. Ha'achaz amavar shegam b'nei Yisrael shebachol doris pashtus Moshe machaskim samuna Yisrael כמו מוישה, כמו מרדכי, מוישה בדרך שהחיזק את המונוסם שישראל עמד חוזק בלום יותר וקימה מצווה. לאחר זה מבאר הפירוש בקוסס למור, שבפוסק ואתה תצווה שמבאר דבר לפרד במוישה עצמי. וזה שמוישה מגל ברכנס המור די ישראל, עצם הנשמה, ובעיקר הידי פשטוס הדלה שבזמן הגולס קוסס. שהאיר בישראל כרך המסירת נפש שלהם, והידי זהו עיקר גילוי עצם הנשמה מור. So that's the second view. Second view is that Hemshech HaPosuk is like this. Vata Tzetzaveh Bnei Yisrael Moshe Rabbeinu connects Yidden to the Eibishter. Kosis Lamor, the ultimate of Moshe Rabbeinu is Kosis Lamor. Zman Mesiris Nefesh, when Yidden are zerbrochen, and it's Nizgal of Etzem Neshama Mesiris Nefesh, that's the main gilui of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the second mahalach. Tzarech lahavin l'fi now. B'nei kosis lamor sheich levat tzavos b'nei Yisrael zeh shema shlosh adalei shema chol dem akash shema chav Yisrael moir and so b'kosis nem kosis lamor hemshech v'li k'chor lach Hashem azay zoch v'inyan v'ikchor lach which Yisrael masifim tesef esar v'moishe. We still have to understand what's the connection of kosis lamor to v'ikchor lach. Hinei akosis v'kibul odem asay sheich levatzas medaber v'pashtus v'zman shalachri and nes tempuri. Shlom and Mashkos of Amayim and the Pirish Vikibul and Masher Chedel Lasso Bizme Hashverish Kibul Mach Kebel Maman Toire Ugam Fi Pash Zakosha Vikibul Lacher and Nes Apize Vizish Bime Hashverish Kibul Masher Chedel Maman Toire Shnein Yon Kabbalah Shubizman Exere Demesis Nefesh Shalom Kum Furish Bamayim Va Kabbalah Shel Lacher and Nes Shigilu Nailis Yose Gama Kabbalah Bizman Exere. Basically, if someone else was learning the Maamaar, he would slug up the free to get at it. The Rashi says, he brings it earlier in a footnote, that the Kibla Yehudim is Ba'avas HaNes. And the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying that what was unique about the story of Mordechai, because he had Mesiris Nefesh. Mesiris Nefesh was before they had the miracle. So which one was it? Was it that Kibla Yehudim was this man Mesiris Nefesh in the few months until this was Nahapachu? Or was Ma'avas HaNes after the V'nahapachu? Which one is it? Is it A or B?
It can't be both.
Oh, so this you could always have both. If it was Nigla, it's one or the other. The top shot, both. What about both? It's this one or that one. So this it can be both. They're both. What's both? Yesh Loimesh, there has been a cost Slamoyer, then the cost Shumatzada, Zman Golas Magim Lamoyer, Shnen Yanabaze, she saw them some artificial costs Matzadze, Shiesh, from Zeres Okimater Mitzis Kmoish, was Mana Mirisa Maimer, a days of Magim Lamoyer, a day Mercedes Nafshalahem, Voidin costs Lamoyer, Shkamchi, it's all Nimsas of Matsu Shalaravocha, Avocha Bagashers, Gamma Vocha Baruch, Nisala Shemun Sam Begolas, there of the Matsu Shalach, and there's the Purim Shalhudim, so I have some Chazas of Ekor. V'pashtos began beruchnis v'serem zu shegam beis hamonit la'ester yos gam amal v'shapcha al shakati avde dachashveri shanan and heim shmurim when it came kotzim v'zeshem begolas v'idea kotzim v'yisram v'zeshem begolas magim la'moy. He's saying there's two types of kosses. One kosses is when the Cossacks are rioting and they are looting and they are hurting and they are burning, and even that's a bracha. Get us out of here. We want to go to Yerushalayim Yirakoidish. We want to go to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, the Psashvache causes. Obviously, they want to get out of here. There's another causes. The Yid is living at Flatbush. He's eating the fat of the land. Alz's dough, the best kosher pizza, the best kokosh cake, the best herring. What else can you have? Chopped liver. All the good chopped liver is here in Brooklyn. What else? What else can you want? Potato kugel, the best potato kugel.
You want to speak on it?
The goyim don't even know what potato kugel is. Do you know that? You can't even translate potato kugel in English. Huh? They know? They don't know. They're going down there. They don't know what you're shouting at. So, a Yid is in Golus and everything is good. So why are you so broken? Why are you screaming? Why are you yelling? What's nishkut? Take a bottle of beer, have it with a piece of kugel, and stop kvetching. Yid is not happy. Why is he not happy? Because he's in Golos. Because the Etzem Yid realizes that he belongs with the Eibishter. He was looking for Gilei Shechina. And when there's no Gilei Shechina, it bothers him. So he's screaming, it's Tzebrach, it's Kosses. His heart is broken. Doesn't matter that he's living in a fancy apartment, that he has a nice house and a garden, that he has a kugel and he has kishke, but doesn't mean anything to him because he wants the Geula Amitis Vashlema. That Kosses is a higher level of Kosses. So same thing, B'Shas, the Yidden, when the Yidden were makabel on themselves, the Mesidus Nefesh, before the Venahapachud, it was very special, Mesidus Nefesh. But when the Yidden, after Ma'avas Hanes, after there was Nahapachu, they still were yearning to have the Geula, that type of Kosses are much, 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 much higher Kosses. It's a much higher Kosses. Let's do one more piece of Schnell. Binyan hu, Zesh Yisrael, Shvurim, Zesh Megolus, Kamchesh Lamarchov, Begashmas of Ruchnis. Why is he broken that he's in Golus? He's Begashmius, he's wealthy. Beruchnius, he's wealthy. He learned Shas already 3.5 times. So good. He does Yafa Yomi, and he does Rambam, and he does Chitas. He's a happy man. He's the happiest man in the world. So why is he upset? Iritzoino ya miti shekol echod mi Yisrael hu sheyagile lekuz v'acheze gile lekus neger le'etzem etzius v'lachein zeh shebezman hagolus ein mei gile lekus k'yemoshe bezman hamayis b'frat k'shemezbonim b'zeh sh'om razal mishlo nivne beis hamikdash b'yoma harei ze kilo nechraf b'yoma in b'zeh atzmei is in ganzen zu tres. It shakes him up. Kosis, he's broken from this. Agam shubei dargen alas beyoyz shemei letzle gila lekus bedugmas agila shebes manabayis makom okim mezesh b'chol salom ein meir agilu shagam agilu shemei letzle hu gil mugbo shemei agilu oren tzaf ablik vul meir agilu b'chol mok sheyesh mokem ech b'filipina nedachas shein meir sham gila lekus emnei shagilu gam mokem shehu meir hu gilu mugbo. If it was really blig vul, it couldn't be a pin in the dachas, it wouldn't be gila likus. You know the story, they said that the poet said, they called this Jew, he said, Moshka, Moshka. I want to ask you a question. You're saying your Mashiach has come. But I said, my Mashiach, he said, the poet said, his Mashiach came already 2,000 years ago. He said, so the poet said that when his Mashiach came, you don't believe Moshe. What happens if your Mashiach is going to come, I'm not going to believe in him? So the Jew said, listen, my dear poets. If my Mashiach comes and you don't believe in him, I won't believe in him. So if there's one place in the world that over there's no Gila Lakus. Everywhere is good Gila Lakus. But in one place there's no Gila Lakus. What do you mean? If there was the real Gilu of Oirein Sof Habli Gvul, it wouldn't be one corner in the world, there wouldn't be a pin and a dachas where you wouldn't feel Gila Lakus. So the fact that there's a pina and a dachas where you don't feel Gila Lakus, Shema Minah, that also here, he's a tzaddik, and his daladamas, there's unbelievable Gila Lakus. But the fact that there's a pina and a dachas where there's no Gila Lakus, Shema Minah, that in his daladamas is lacking in the Gila Lakus. Why is the Rebbe saying this? Because someone's going to say that he, by mir, doing Maamaar, Beis Medrash, is shine El Gila Novi. Someone's going to say that, right? So the Rebbe is saying the fact that there's a pin and a dachas in the Welt, that there isn't a Gila Lakus, Lu Yekid Varecha, that in your Beis Medrash, there's a Ifia Ruach HaKodesh on your Beis Medrash, and you have Gila Novi, but because there's a pin and a dachas, and over there's no Gila Lakus, it's lacking in you. It's lacking in you. Skip the brackets. Because a Yid realized that the Atzmus Erin Sof is not shining by him, who nishbar when it costs it's a brach. Why is Choyle the Gematis Memtes? Shegam Kshemasig Memtes Sharibine Elashachos Eloi Sharanun Uchoyle. He's Choyle's Ava to the Eibishter. But he already has Memta Sharabina. What are you sick about? Why are you longing so much? Oh, because Har Navoy, Numboy, he wants to have the Shara Chamishim. And because he doesn't, he's choilus ava, he's sick. Choilus begematria mem test. Up to mem test, a person is sick. Once he gets to Sharanun, he's healed. So, even if a person says, in my base medrash, there's Gilelio, in my base medrash, there's mem test shari bin. Come to my base medrash, what are you so worried about? So, but we say, number one, if there's an opinion in the world that there is Megillah Klus, it's Shramino that's lacking by you. And that means that there isn't a Gili Atzmus of the Eibishter is not. Because if there was, it would be in every corner of the world. You do much because about some tzedek, sure, nishma merene merabena ad marazak ich will shir garnet. Ich will nicht denken, ich will nicht deine Elma, ich will mir nicht wieder allein. Vedush, nishma lashon lamad marazak in the Pirish, nishma shazeh, Lloyd Akmes Manim Yochad Mishazah Dover Rogel, Bafat Lach, and Sparsham said that's my tzedek, nicht like Colonel Falach Bech Misrol. She could turn Gila Atzmos, Vatka the Kach, train me Gilize, Coach King, Bismana Golashem, Rafila, Gila Ursha, Bismana Bayus, who Mizmats of the Kosses, needless a broch. His heart is broken. He cries to the Eibishter 3 times a day. V'sachazeno eineinu b'shuv chalutziyim berachamim. Shows Yegila l'kuzvat l'gila atzmos. V'zeh kosis l'moer. Shedein in the kosis possession so the golos magim l'moer. When I give this tzabrochen that is in golos, through that he gets to the moer. V'zeh shirotzen yifalachem Yisrael. Ugila l'kuz v'achas and again letzem mitziusoi. Shachen nishbevenit kekosim v'zeh b'zman golos lo yesh gila l'kuz v'tzadetzem v'neshama. How did you know you got the Etzem and Hashem? I got the Etzem and Hashem. Prove it to me. Yeah, I'm telling you. Besides Gili Leo and Memta Shourim that are revealed in my base mother, Gili Etzem and Hashem. How are you going to disprove it? So if a person is so tresel that he's in Golus, that he's so bothered that he's in Golus, that he can't stand it, that he's broken-hearted from the fact that he's in Golus, Shmami no, that he has a gila of his etzem and neshama. That's why it's touching him that he's in Golus. Mitzad etzem and neshama, Moshe neshama, sheis kashusa b'lekus, sheis kashus atzmis. So that's the 2 levels in Kosas Lamor. Kosas Lamor when the Kazakhs are rioting, and Kosas Lamor when everything is good, and we have the best chopped liver and chopped herring. But Sefel Iker, Sefel Gila Lekus, so he's broken hearted. This that he's broken, that his heart is broken, that and he's screaming when everything is so good, that is a gilui of the etzem haneshama. That's etzem haneshama. That's kosis lamoy. Then you know it's the real moish beneshama. When the Kazakhs are knocking on the door and he's screaming, that's not etzem mamish etzem sheba etzem haneshama. But when he's screaming in Flatbush that Avil Mashiach, we want Mashiach now. That's etzem sheba neshama. So Rabbi said we have the opportunity for the real kosis lamor. We think that 80 years ago they had the real stuff. We have the real deal. We're living the good life. And still I need is kosis lamor as sabrochen. That these Ngolos, that is a revelation that gives us that means we're in contact with our etzem neshama. Okay, we'll stop at this point. We'll figure out when we can finish the Maamaar. The Eibush shall help him that every one of us should be taka kosis lamor, and we should see the more of our neshama, Nevi'is Mashiach Tzidkeinu.
Amen.
Okay, Rabbi Morozov.
That's weird.
I can't